So let us start with the actual content, what we are going to study in this subject. So as you all know, the name of the subject is data structure. So normally we start the learning by understanding the term which we are going to learn, or we start learning by understanding the meaning of the words which we are learning. So let us first put it in this way. What do we mean by data and what do we mean by structure? So I need response from your side. What is data? Yes, can anyone just...
Data is information.
Okay, one way to look at this is data is an information. Any other? Yes, anyone else? You can write in your chat as well. Set of instructions. No. So the second term is structure. We'll discuss on data, but let us first get your input on structure. What is structure in general?
Structure is a predefined,
Dictionary
non-primitive
terms.
data.
When you say something has a structure, what it means? Anyone? स्ट्रक्चर ये वर्ड सुना है आपने? Right, Mir. Something which is arranged in a proper way. So structure is actually which is well organized. Yes, Neil, you are right. So I think let us first try to understand these two terms, data and structure. Data is, as someone has said, that data is information, but I will put it in a different way. Information is a meaningful data. So data is actually not an information, but you can generate or you can form an information by putting data in some meaningful way. So data is beyond or at the bottom level actually. When you put this data together, then it becomes information. Let me give you an example. Let us say, when I say uh, name is an information, like there is a person called Vatsal, right? Vatsal Sonani. So let us say, what's your name? So he will say me that Vatsal Sonani. So that's an information that. But how this Vatsal Sonani can be described? So basically, it is form of a string which starts with V, then A, then T, then S, then A, then L, and then you have Sonani. So what I mean to convey is that that string is a data, but we all have an understanding that when you have this kind of a string and someone says that it's my name, then it becomes an information. So basically, data is a backbone of information, I should say. Data is a raw material which is required for generating information. Am I clear? Fine. So the next point I want to discuss is structure. Now, when we say structure, structure means something which is well organized. So obviously, when you say something which is well organized, it means that there are ways to organize it. So what I should say that in this particular subject, you are going to learn the way of organizing data. That's what my understanding of data structure is. The way there are different ways of organizing the data, and you will learn few of them. So you will start with learning. There are major two types. One is called a linear data structure, and second is called non-linear data structure. So linear, what do we mean by linear? Anyone?
Sequential.
Sequential, right? And what do we mean by non-linear?
Non-sequential.
Non-sequential, obviously. So, any example of something which is linear?
Array, stack, queue.
Okay, array. So you are talking in terms of data structure only. I want a real-time example. When I say something is linear, what it means? Any example, real-time example which you can see. Set of natural number, right? It's linear, right? And what about a non-linear example? Graph. So once again, you are talking in terms of academics. Let me put it in this way. I will say the roads in the city are non-linear. Is it true or false? True. But road always goes straight. So there is always one source and one destination. Isn't it looks like a linear? Means you start with Athwa Gate, you reach at VR Mall. So that's linear. Isn't it? I'm asking actually. So the point why am I raising this question is it sounds very stupid question, but this is what you are supposed to learn and this is what you are supposed to practice while learning. You must start. Okay, I have some response from Milan. Uh, in a straight path is linear, but from while whole city is non-linear.
Point of
Yes,
view.
yeah, straightforward. So what he is trying to point out is that when you, let us say, from Athwa Gate to uh, VR Mall, then you have a source and destination, so you have a linear path between them. But it's not just from Athwa Gate to VR Mall. There are many different roads which are actually comes between this path. There are many interconnection which goes. There are many other ways which comes out of this straight and linear path. So if you look from the bird view, then it's a non-linear data structure. So, and that's what someone has said, that a graph is a non-linear data structure. So when you have something which can be described or which can be uh, structured in a straight line, on a straight line, then it's called a linear data structure. But if there is something which cannot be put in a straight line, then it's called a non-linear data structure. So in this particular subject, there are two major topic of learning will be the understanding linear data structure. So it covers array, stack, queue, linked list, and there are many other different version of it. So these all are a linear data structure where the data access is always in a linear motion. So you start from one point and you always moves to the next point or you goes to the previous point, but their movement is always linear. It's like uh, if you put a scale to draw a line, you can put a point on any particular point and you can draw a line in any direction, but that direction has to be along with that scale only. You cannot randomly put a dot at any point on a scale. So that's why it is a linear. When it comes to the non-linear data structure, then the data access not necessary to be something which we do in the linear data structure. So that means if I start from the first element, then I can have a structure in which I should have a provision of moving to any element which may not be the next element with respect to the first element. So that means there is a way of organizing data which is purely derived from the nature itself, and there are two major data structure for that. First is called tree and second is called graph. So we'll come to that point. I'm just giving you the brief overview of the subject. Then you have a third chapter or the third topic under this syllabus, that is called sorting and searching technique. Now, when you have a data, obviously you want to play with that data. When I say play, it means that I want to use it. So whenever you are using the data or accessing the data, there are two major operations which are always there. One is arranging the data, so that is called sorting, and second is finding something from the data, that is called searching. So you have 1,000 of student set, for let us say you have 1,000 of records, and you are always interested in arranging that records in some order, that is called sorting technique, and or you are either interested in finding something from that record set, so that is called searching technique. So this will be the third topic which will be discussed in this chapter, that is sorting and searching. And then you have another topic which is on hashing. Now hashing is basically, you can say, a subtopic of searching, because it is mainly used for optimizing the search operation. Imagine you have can you have an idea how many Gmail users will be there? Any guess? Worldwide. Just any random guess you can make. You can say any number. 5 to 6 billion, right? Okay. Or it may be in trillion. That means the number is very huge. That's what I want to point out. So let us say you are starting with your login on Google. You are entering xyz@gmail.com. Okay. Right, Dhwanil, I got your point. It can be anything in terms of billion or something like that. So let us say you are actually trying to log in into the Gmail, and you are typing your email address, that xyz@gmail.com, and then you put next. What happens on the next screen? Yes, I'm asking another question. You might have done this, right? You have logged in into the Gmail, you enter your email address, and they will ask for password. But before asking for the password, they have actually validated your email address. That means whatever password you have entered is correct or not. Yes, Viren, you are spot on. So my point is that how many seconds it takes actually? Entering email address and you put on the next button, 5 to 6 seconds? Hardly 5? 1 or 2? I think it's, yeah, Milan, you are right. But if you have a good internet connection, hardly it takes 1 second. Am I correct? It hardly takes 1 second to identify whether you are an eligible Gmail user or not. Now just try to understand, you have let us imagine there are 1 billion user. You have 1 billion user. You are entering your email address. Obviously that address is unique. But still, among this 1 billion user, first you will be validated. So that means the search operation has to be performed on that 1 billion user. So if you start from the first element and you go till the 1 billionth user for searching, imagine how fast it is. You are just giving, or they are just using 1 second. 1 second that all depends on the connectivity as well. So you are transferring data, transmission also requires some time. So searching, actual searching operation doesn't require 1 second also. It's actually in a millisecond or it's a microsecond as well. So imagine what type of searching technique we are using, or they are using actually, I should say. So my point of what I want to point out is that uh, searching is based on, there are number of other technique, but one of the major technique is called hashing. So obviously they have their own set of algorithms, they have their own set of data structure to maintain this. But what I want to, that base of that their data structure is actually hashing. So hashing is a technique which allows them to perform this kind of a searching and within a fraction of a second or a millisecond. So you will be learning the basics of hashing, and then how hashing is actually a very huge topic, but our focus will be on how hashing can be used for improving searching. So we have discussed, I think, the four topic are linear data structure, non-linear data structure, sorting and searching technique, and the hashing. So this is actually your syllabus contained, right? And uh, we will be going through this topic. So I think I have give you an overview of what will be there inside the syllabus. Neelam madam will be conducting uh, two sessions, and I will be conducting the one session. She will start with the linear data structure, or she might have started with it, and I will be covering the non-linear data structure and sorting and searching technique. So this is about the distribution of the session as well. So with this brief introduction about the syllabus content, now I think I will move to the sorting technique. That will be our first topic of discussion before we go inside the nonlinear data structure. So we'll be discussing the sorting methods. Now, are you getting my screen? Sorting and searching. Okay. So basically, these are the technique which is there in your syllabus. Bubble sort, selection sort, quick sort, merge sort, and inside the searching you have a linear search and binary search. You might have come across this technique during your first year, that is under subject PPS, but we will try to understand what do we mean by sorting. So obviously sorting is arranging in order. So if you are discussing about the numbers, then obviously you are arranging the numbers in some order, or sometimes it is alphabetical as well. So you are sorting string as well. It depends on your application, it depends on the overall requirement of the application. First questions comes into our mind that why do we require sorting? Why do we arrange in order? Any idea? Yes, anyone? Okay, that's good. Mir, Milan, others, yes. I think you all are on the same line. You are talking that we are arranging the things because whenever we require it, it should be accessible easily. That's the moral of the story. We are arranging because whenever we require it, it should be accessible with ease. So that is the first and fundamental requirement of sorting. And almost every application will have a sorting. Whenever you are dealing with data, data has to be arranged in order. So that means every application will have this way of arranging the things. So it is used for a organized data storage, it adds to searching. It means that once you put the things in a place, it's better to recover them, or it's better to retrieve them, I should say. I should not say recover, but I should say retrieve them. uh, it has an application in many complex problem. We will not go inside that part right now. Our area of concern is how to sort. Obviously there are two ways of sorting. One is an ascending order and descending order. Our concern is not an order, whether it's an ascending or a descending, that doesn't make any difference. Our concern is whenever you have a bunch of data, what is the method of sorting them or arranging them in a required order, either ascending or descending. So similarly, what is searching? Searching is, we all know by the dictionary meaning itself, so to search means to find. So whenever you are finding an elements inside the list, sometimes you have a list of numbers, you are finding some numbers inside that. Sometimes you have a text, that means a string or a series of string, then you are finding some words inside that. And it has a various applications, various domains, starting from each and every area where computational is used or where computation is used. Searching is required as well as sorting. And there are two methods which we are going to discuss, that is sequential search and binary search. Fine. So the first method which we want to discuss is a bubble sort. Now first let us understand what do we mean by bubble. Yes, I need first the dictionary meaning of bubble. Anyone? What is bubble? No, I just want a meaning of it. कहाँ पे देखा आपने ये bubble? Water droplet. Okay, it fine. Good. कहाँ पे होता है ये? So is it on the top of the water or is it inside water or where it is? Normally. Top. Right. So bubble always comes on a top. So that's the first thing you need to remember. Why this method is bubble sort? Because the way we are sorting the elements inside this method is something like the desired element always comes on the last. So let us now try to understand this example. We want to sort this number, right? 6, 2, 5, 4, 3. Okay. Obviously, our requirement is that it's a bubble sort. So what we need is what is the largest number is this in this is a 6, right? So what is our requirement that, and we are interested in sorting in arranging order. So what it means that 6 should come at the last. That is our requirement. Because this is the technique, or I should not say that is our requirement, but this technique does that. And that's why it is a bubble sort. Whatever is the largest number of this will come at the last position after every iteration. So let us put this in this way. So how do we do that? If I want to find out the largest of this, how can we do that? We'll simply compare first two number, 6 and 2. If the first number is greater than second one, then we will exchange it. Because what we want is larger number should be on the right side. So now that 6, 2 will become 2, 6, isn't it? Now once again you focus on this 2, 6, 5, 4, 3. So you can see. Now once again we are comparing 6 and 5. Obviously what it should become? 5 and 6. You take this in the next one. So you have a comparison between 6 and 4. It should become 4 and 6. Then you have a comparison between 6 and 3, and it will become 3 and 6. So you are actually, there are 5 numbers. Because there are 5 numbers, you require 4 comparisons. So this is first comparison, second one, third one, and the fourth one. Right? Now, is this number sorted? After pass 1, whatever you are getting, 2, 5, 4, 3, 6, is not sorted yet. So it goes to the second pass. What happens now? You have 2, 5, 4, 3, 6. But now you can ignore this 6 because 6 is already in place. So what we will be doing is, now we are interested in finding or sorting these 4 numbers. So that is 2, 5, and 4 and 3. So what we'll be doing, first compare 2 numbers. So 2 and 5, it remains 2 and 5 because 5 is already on the right side. Then you have a comparison between 5 and 4. So that 5 and 4 becomes 4 and 5 because 5 is greater than 4. So this comes on the right side. So it becomes 4 and 5. Then you have a comparison between 5 and 3. 5 is a larger one, so it comes on the right side. So that's it. Actually, this iteration is not required, but for your understanding, I have put it over here. So like this, third pass and fourth pass. So if there are 5 numbers, you require 4 passes, and in every pass you require n minus 1. That means pass minus 1 comparison to sort the element. So if you put this in an algorithm, what we will be getting is, just forget about this first for loop. Just leave that first for loop. Okay, let us first understand how to write the algorithms. You can see this bubble short. Bubble short is the name of the algorithm. Then inside the bracket you have 2 parameters, capital A and capital N, where A is the array of numbers and N is the number of elements. So A is the actual numbers and N is the length of that array. So what we are doing inside the algorithm, we are simply, forget about the first for loop, let us focus on the second for loop. So what we are doing, starting from the first element until the second last element. So because there are 6 numbers, you require 5 comparison. So if you start from first, then you go till the 5th. If there are 5 numbers, then you require 4 comparison. If there are n numbers, then you require n minus 1 comparisons. So when we do this, at every instance of this for loop, what we are comparing is the first number and the second number. So a of j will be compared with the next number, that is a of j plus 1. And if it is the found that number on the left, that is a of j, is greater than number on the right, that is a of j plus 1, then this number will be swapped. So a of j will be swapped with a of j plus 1. Swap means interchanged. So what we will be doing, we will be using a third number, a temporary number. So we will be assigning the value of a left number a of j to temp. Then we will be assigning the value of a of j plus 1 to a of j. And finally, we will be assigning the value of temp to a of j plus 1. So these 3 statements will interchange the value of a of j and a of j plus 1. And this we are doing whenever we are finding some number on left is greater than a number on a right. So what this internal for loop will do, it will simply compare n minus 1 comparison every time, and every time it will arrange the number in this way. Now this we require, again, this is just a one pass, so we require n minus 1 passes. So we'll put another for loop. What we are doing inside this, for I equal to 1 to n minus 1. So that means if there are 5 numbers, then we'll be comparing this, or we'll be doing this 4 times. So this is bubble sort algorithm. You have n minus 1 passes, and in every pass you have n minus 1 comparison. So have you got this? Or any confusion? You can ask me on chat. You can just talk to me as well. Or you are not understanding? Say it's also good to say I'm not understanding it. If it is, right? It's always good to say that I don't understand. Fine. We'll be discussing a repetition. But I will be doing that on some another example. So I think it will be more clear. So let us discuss it on some live example. So I'm now switching my screen actually. Okay. So now can you see this screen on Visual Algo? Fine. So first thing, this is a very good website for learning data structure. That is the first thing which I want to discuss, and that's why I'm discussing example on this only. So it's not just for sorting, for learning any kind of a data structure, or there are some other topic as well. So you can just try to explore this. It's a very good one. Let us say this is a very huge example actually. So let us put it in a small one. So let us say these are the 5 numbers we want to sort, right? 29, 10, 14, 17, 37 and 14. So let us start with this. We'll sort it. But before that, okay. So you can actually check the algorithm as well over here. Okay. But we are not interested in algorithm. What we are interested in this example and how it actually happens. So what happens that first there are 5 numbers, right? 29, 10, 14, 37 and 14. First thing you should, after looking at the number itself, first thing should be clear to you is that this is the bubble sort. It means that the largest number should be on the rightmost side after first iteration. Second iteration, second largest number will be on the second its position, then third, then fourth. So if you repeat this n minus 1 time, you will get the data in place, so in sorted order. So what is the largest number? Obviously this 37 is the largest one. So but we'll start with the comparing first 2 numbers. So first 29 and 10 will be compared. What happens is that because 29 is greater than 10, then they will swap the position. So this becomes 10 and 29. Next comparison will be between 29 and 14. So what happens? Once again, an element on the left is greater than element on the right. So once again, there will be a swap, right? Then you have a 29 and 37 comparison between 29 and 37. Now what happens? Will there be any swap operation? We are comparing 29 and 37. Will there be any swap? No. Obviously, because 37 is the larger number compared to 29. So it will remain as it is, and your next comparison will be 37 and 14. Because the element on the left is greater than element on the right, we'll have a swap. So what happens is 14 and 37. So this is the output after first iteration. Till, is this sorted? Obviously not, right? Sometimes it may get sorted, but still it doesn't mean that you are not supposed to perform the operations, or you are not supposed to perform the actual process. An actual process says that you should repeat this 4 times. So you have done it first, we'll do it second time. So what happens now? Once again, 10 and 14. 14 is greater than 10, so no swap. 14 and 29. 29 is greater than 14, so no swap. 29 and 14. 29 is actually greater than 14, which is on the left, so they requires a swap. So this will be swapped. Actually, as per our algorithm, or the algorithm which I have discussed, we'll do one more comparison between 29 and 37. But is it required? Obviously not required. So we can modify that algorithm, right? It should not perform always n minus 1 comparison, but it should perform n minus I minus 1 comparison, or I should say I minus 1 comparison. That means if it's the first instance, then it should perform n minus 1. If it is the second instance, then it should perform n minus 2 comparison. Third instance, n minus 3. Fourth instance, n minus 4. That means if it is an ith instant, it should perform n minus I comparison. So instead of writing between n to 1 to n minus 1, I think in the second loop, which I am going to share just after this finishes, it should be changed to n minus I. So that was just for improving the bubble sort. So ultimately what you will get is, after second iteration, this. Then you have a third iteration, 10 and 14, no swap required. 14 and 14, no swap required. And that's it. And then you have fourth iteration, 10 and 14, so no swap required. So ultimately what you get is, if you go for any random numbers, let us put some random number and short it, right? So just observe this, what happens every time. You can easily focus on the largest number, right? So largest number comes to the last position every time. Right, it has actually stopped, right? But maybe their algorithm has changed, tweaked something. But this is what we mean by a bubble short. I am stopping this screen. I am once again coming back to the our PPT. So what I was saying to is that this is the second loop from j equal to 1 to n minus 1. Instead of j equal to 1 to n minus 1, you can easily change it to j equal to 1 to n minus I. Because on the first iteration, that means when your I is equal to 1, you require n minus 1 comparison. When your I is 2, you require n minus 2 comparison. When I is 3, you require n minus 3 comparison. So it means that this loop should be changed to 1 to n minus I, and that will give you the proper and improved and optimized version of bubble sort algorithm. So I think this is all about the bubble sort. I hope it's clear. Okay, so let us end our discussion on whatever we have discussed today, or let us end our session today. But before I actually end it, I required some feedback in the sense that if you have any doubt, or if you want to suggest anything, you can just ask me on the topic. Anything? Okay, so that's it from my side for today. I think uh, whatever we have discussed, we have actually discussed the basic introduction of data structure. What is there in your syllabus, how it is going to be discussed, what to be discussed by me, what will be discussed by Neelam madam. And apart from that, we have started with the sorting technique, and we have discussed the first sorting technique, that is a bubble sort. And by the name itself, it can be understood that bubble comes always on top. So that means that if you are sorting in the ascending order, your bubble is your largest number. So your largest number comes on the rightmost side. After every iteration, the largest comes on the right, largest comes on the right. So that how you can remember what do we mean by bubble sort. So that's all from my side. If you have any question, you can raise over here. You can also ask me on my email as well. That's all. So goodbye and take care.